Serious police officers of Reddit. What stupid law have you enforced just because someone was in a hole? Excessive noise from a vehicle. I never give that ticket because it's kind of a waste of time compared to what I could be doing, but also most people have the common sense not to be blasting their shit at 150 decibels around the fuzz. I just finished a call at Walmart. It's Walmart, so the parking lot is packed. People, kids, families everywhere. This truck starts rolling through super slow. Dude had the fucking Power Stone hooked up to his sound system. Pure dick move. Pulled him over, just have the conversation about respecting others. Guy was a dick. Like a huge, floppy, angry green dick. He got $1,100 worth of tickets where he could have gotten a warning if not for the attitude. Once saw a fellow officer write a ticket for bald tires. Among several other things, because the driver decided to use his First Amendment right to call the officer a slang racial slur. Cop here. I call it the asshole test. I treat everyone the way I would like to be treated, with respect and courtesy. There was one time I stopped someone for completely disregarding a stop sign in a high pedestrian area. When I walked up to the person's car, he was immediately angry and frustrated with me. Called me a few choice words and his conduct was overall negative. I tend to give people warnings unless the offense was very reckless. This guy definitely got a ticket. Canadian cop here. I currently police a very rural, very poor First Nation reserve. A lot of the frequent flyers in my community are regularly placed on conditions to not drink alcohol. Problem is, alcoholism goes hand in hand with poverty, so it's pretty rare to find any of those people sober. Technically I can arrest, charge any of these people anytime I encounter them and they've been drinking, so basically whenever I want. If I encounter one of these people and they're being even a little bit friendly, cooperative, they get a pass, ride home. If they cross my path and decide to be an asshole, they get to spend the night in cells. If they've done it a few times recently, they'll also pick up a criminal charge. It's not that I enjoy lodging or charging people, but them acting like an asshole with me is a pretty good indicator that they're going to go beat up people, break some stuff, steal some stuff, etc. Later that day, I prefer to nip that kind of stuff in the bud when I can. Former police officer here. There was a law where I worked that banned spitting in public. I only wrote 2 or 3 people for it, and it was because the people were huge assholes. Even the prosecutors were like, really? Expectorating in public? How petty are you? Quote. Used to be an MP. Garrison decided pit bulls couldn't be on treadmills, because someone somewhere along the line made that a problem to address. People were feeding pit bulls whey protein and throwing them on treadmills to beef them up for aesthetics. Suffice to say, I've never had to actually enforce that law, but had I seen someone with a pit bull on a treadmill, I'd have to enforce it. Don't scare a pigeon in Boston. $7 fine. Cop here. Was at the end of my night shift, about to head home when I heard a crash near the detachment. Went to investigate and saw a couple of guys walking away from a local homeless feeding shelter and a shopping cart that was thrown at the building, nearly breaking the window. Went to go have what was supposed to be a 5-minute chat about not breaking stuff on your way home from the bar, but one of the guys kept walking away from me. Just said, nope, and I don't have to stop for you, after I formally detained him. Wouldn't give a name or anything. Eventually told him it's an obstruction charge, which I rarely do because people are kinda jerks a lot of the time, but he kept not saying. Ended up being arrested for mischief, held overnight in the drunk tank, and a $250 ticket for obstructing a peace officer. Because he didn't want to have a 5-minute talk about not being a jerk when drunk. Cop here. I've given a holes tickets for no tag lights and not having the proper decal sticker on the license plate. Now here's something you may not know about cops. It turns out we're people. Some of us are jerks and some of us are super nice people. I'm the cop you wanna get pulled over by or called on, because I can promise you, if you have a good attitude, you're not getting a ticket. I don't wanna go to court and I don't wanna add any financial burdens to your life. I police in poverty-stricken areas, so I'm extra nice. In fact, I only pull people over if they do something really dumb in traffic, like cutting someone off, pulling in front of someone, or running a red light. And no, they don't get tickets. A good verbal warning usually works. Besides, seeing flashing lights in the rear view mirror usually scares them enough. No need to be a prick and give someone a ticket for an honest mistake. That being said, you run your mouth when I'm being nice will definitely get you a ticket. State law requires a reconstruction permit for extremely minor modifications done to a vehicle, like raised or lowered suspension, but nobody ever obtained these permits. Nobody. Hell, most people didn't even know they existed. But if you were a big enough dick, it was a really handy ticket to stick someone with. The other, possibly lamest and yet most satisfying, was to write someone up for a burned-out license plate light. How about a cop getting a ticket for being in a hole? We had one of our safety officers, they work for the province and enforce safety rules in the workplace. He was driving to a construction site about an hour out of town when a cop pulled him over for doing about 10 kilometers per hour over the limit. He tried to state he had only been going 10 over the limit, but the cop was being a dick and said something like rules are the rules. Cop goes back to the car, writes up his ticket and comes back to give it to the guy, and the safety officer hands him back a ticket as well. Cop asks him what this is for and he says rules are rules. When you are on the side of the highway you must be wearing your high visibility jacket. I always thought this was pretty funny. Retired, on many occasions I was flipped off by motorists, who inevitably turned out to be grader assholes, and cited them for improper hand signal. Interesting question, but it appears something went seriously wrong on this thread. I work in a town of 4,000 roughly. We have two main streets that run the entire length of town. One is in the middle of town and is small businesses and residential. The other is main traffic and the road you take if you need to pass through fairly quickly. Well, in 10 years I have only written one jaywalking ticket. Just strutted out into traffic without even looking. Car 4 up from me locked them up to avoid hitting her. Chick that jaywalked flipped her the bird. She got the ticket. Plus we have a disorderly conduct ticket that loosely applies to flipping the bird. She got that one too. No traffic control either, by the way. Lights or stop signs. First-hand patrol story here. It was a busy night a few years back, and some idiot was running around lighting anything flammable on fire. Dumpsters, couches, mattresses, you name it. We ended up with guys escorting fire trucks through the neighborhood just soaking down anything that could conceivably be ignited because nobody could find this guy. I was part of the group searching for him. I passed by an apartment complex and heard a solid thud against the side of my patrol car. I looked over and saw a shirtless, curly-haired drunk guy standing in his doorway laughing. I stopped the car to inspect for damage and planned to have a little chat with the guy if there wasn't any damage, mostly to advise him that he should 1. Probably stay inside because he is drunk, and 2. Not throw footballs at police vehicles. He was an absolute jerk from start to finish. Long story short, we have a city ordinance entitled throwing missiles into a street, which is usually used to get people to stop blocking a street if they're playing ball in it. He is the only person I know of to actually be charged under that ordinance. If you like it and want to see more, please like the video and subscribe.